Is mobile POS. And so with mobile POS, it's not just a tablet with a cash drawer. It can really empower associates to enhance the customer experience. Where do you see the biggest opportunities in mobile POS? And what are the threats related to mobile POS that resellers need to be aware of? I'd like to start with John Waldron and then Ray Carlin and then open it up for discussion. So mobile POS.
Sure. So I've only been a part of the industry for about 6.5 years. And mobile POS was like the Brazil of technologies about 6.5 years ago, and it was too expensive. It wasn't ready for prime time. I'm not sure it's that much further along. I think you still see many of the workflow challenges that existed 3, 5, 7 years ago. And the technology is getting less expensive, but I don't know that it's getting any less sophisticated to deploy. And whether that be the technology itself or its impact on the retail experience and the workflow that's existing in those stores. It totally changes how furniture is designed. It totally changes, how associates interact with the customer. And when it's not thought of that way from the beginning, it's an upheaval for the retailer to really make those changes. And if you go to a place like China, where mobile POS is really the way they do POS, they don't have any of that legacy baggage to bring along like we do in the United States and in many developed markets. So I think we have to help retailers get through that transition, and as a reseller of the ability to deliver that technology, my advice, I guess, would be to quickly figure out whether the retailer's appetite for change is high, in which case you probably have a good opportunity to sell such a solution, or low, in which case you're going to waste tons and tons of time selling them something they're never going to buy.
Great. Ray, you're in mobile POS.
A couple of other thoughts. Not unlike what Mike mentioned, we've seen a lot of mobile interest, and certainly either through some of our own internal surveys and market research or some of the studies that there is no doubt that mobile is here. And we've seen in last 6 months, pretty good pickup actually in mobile projects, but it has been slower to accelerate. But it's there, and I don't think there's any question about it. In fact, 80%, we surveyed 125 U.S. retailers of different sizes in a blind survey, and 80% said that they were going to do a mobile project. I think the second point is, and it was touched on a little bit earlier, that there are a number of different use cases. First of all, it varies by sub-vertical, so it's not a one-size-fits-all approach in our view, and we've seen most of our early success in specialty retailing would be, I think, where maybe there's been more of an interest in a single view of the customer, and we see mobile as a glue from we look at omni-channel in terms of how do you make that transition with the customer from an online experience to a brick and mortar store experience. So mobile can play a really big role in that. In terms of challenges, talked about business process. I think there's also, in terms of as we look at what's held back some projects, it's really been around systems integration challenges. When it's, the senior management or the owner decides I want to do mobile, then maybe it's not so fast considering what the existing software environment might be. So there's been some innovative solutions that can coexist with existing retail automation platforms, and some of the ISV community have been aggressive, but some haven't. So there's been probably a little bit of a barrier in terms of software integration. Again, that's a barrier, but it's something that the audience can really take advantage of in terms of helping the customer.
Who else wants to weigh in on mobile POS threats and opportunities? Matt Taylor?
So mobile's clearly becoming a disruptor, right? And we see it in two flavors. We see mobile as a full-blown point-of-sale system, and that's challenging some of the fundamentals of how POS software is getting sold. And we're going to talk a bit about, and it's already been mentioned, the shift towards an as-a-service model or subscription-based model. Mobile's really, really accelerating that, where folks are coming in and giving away mobile technology for free, and then monetizing services on top of that. Some of them are payment processing, others are marketing services or security solutions, et cetera. We're seeing VARs be really, really successful. And we're seeing the traditional point-of-sale technologies evolve to create the second kind of mobile POS, which is a peripheral as an extension of point-of-sale. And there's some really exciting things here. I walked the floor yesterday and saw some great innovation where this industry is really starting to get consumerized in terms of being able to connect technology more closely to the customer as they walk in. And there's a lot of opportunity, but make no mistake, it's a disruptor, and it's challenging the ways point of sale is sold and the experience that it's creating in the store.
Yeah, not the same old, same old. Anybody else want to weigh in on mobile POS? Mike?
I think one observation is that because it's still new and it's complicated and it requires multiple disciplines and the end user still is not exactly clear on what they want, I think it's a big risk for a traditional point of sale reseller to go into this and make a big investment. So the challenge is, how do you get into it in a way that you can afford, that you can see a return on that investment? And our advice is to make sure that you find some partners to do that with, whether it's someone who is like you in your area that doesn't compete with you, but find a partner, and maybe it's a vendor, maybe it's a distributor, someone who can help shoulder some of the risk as you move into this new technology, because it's clearly disruptive, but it's also potentially very risky just from a cost perspective.
Yeah, it's confusing, and if you go it alone, you'd be guessing, and as the axiom goes, to guess is to gamble. Jay?
Yeah, I would add that, while it is potentially risky, it's not going away, right? It's only going to grow, and we're all going to have to figure out how to deal with it. And I think the magic is in the software, as everybody's indicated. And I think I'd encourage you to develop system integration skills where you can integrate some of these innovative ISV apps that you can get pretty much anywhere now with the legacy IT, POS systems and the devices themselves, right? So I think it's all about the integration between the three.
Arnie and then Steve.
Yeah, real quick. Great new franchise that's coming up in the Tampa Bay area right now is a restaurant called Carmel Cafe. And it's a traditional cafe, traditional restaurant. But what's interesting about them is when we think about mobile, we usually think about the small operator in point of sale. But this is a company who is basing everything on mobile inside of their traditional restaurant. And so it's changing their business processes. It's changing the way that they deliver their services. It's changing the way that they take orders. It's changing the way that they pay. And so this is a fantastic opportunity for all of us, all of you, to take advantage of that. It requires new skills. It requires you kind of breaking away from your traditional way of thinking and developing new concepts and new business processes. But it's a massive opportunity for everyone here today.
Great. Steve, the last word on mobile POS.
Yeah, and to point up what he's talking about, I think you also have to define what market you're serving in terms of the scalability of what's happening. A major retailer like Walmart's going to have a hard time pivoting, so to speak, where in Tier 5, Tier 4 retail, that's the only thing we're selling right now is mobile POS.
Really?
I mean, that's, it's 1,000 at one a day.
Yeah.
That is occurring from a distribution point of view. And really where I think the driver of that is the cost. The ISVs have been able to provide security, networkability, and functionality and are driving the SaaS model. So it's happening, but not at the most visible level. It could be kiosk, carts, still retail.
Yeah. The one thing about mobile POS is we always talk to people, equipment is not going to get heavier and more tethered. Like no one's saying, no, more connections, please. I mean, everything is trying to get more wireless. It's certainly not going in the other direction. Before I move on, I just want to do a quick survey, gentlemen. So in a recent BSM article on mobile POS, one executive said about cloud POS, he said it's primarily hype. Another executive said cloud POS is here to stay. So I just want to get a show of hands. First, who thinks cloud POS is hype? John? And do you guys, everybody else think cloud POS is here to stay? No. All right.
I think it totally depends on the customer. I mean, there's no one-size-fits-all solution, and for some, it's absolutely going to be hype because it's going to have all the barriers we could talk about for a long time. For others, it's absolutely here to stay, and it's where they're going to start. So, I think that the idea that any of these concepts are one-size-fits-all is a failed starting point.
I totally agree with that. I think cloud-based technology at the point of sale is here to stay. Full-blown cloud POS delivered completely from the cloud isn't a model that fits all sizes, but cloud-based technologies are more and more prevalent delivered through the POS channel.
Got it. Jay, if you can weigh in on this, then we'll move on.
I think it's
to
all
another.
about hybrid solutions, and I think you mentioned that earlier. It's some of the vertical ISV solutions will leverage cloud apps, right, and the mobile device. and some won't, right? So at the end of the day, and it is a function of what market you serve. If you're a massive enterprise, probably more complication moving to mobile POS. If you're a small business, not so hard.
I got to tell you, when John raised his hand both times, I thought that guy's got a career in politics ahead of him.